dark screen, a single, flickering tone, then silence. Imagine waking up, and the most powerful system humanity has ever built is simply gone. No warning, no outage map, no reboot. Just silence, where the digital heartbeat of the world once lived. Tonight we step into a world that exists only in nightmares and disaster simulations. A world where the internet or invisible nervous system dies forever. The internet is woven into everything, not just your phone, not just your laptop. The very infrastructure of civilization, planes, hospitals, banks, power grids, global communication, food supply chains, emergency services, all connected, all synchronized, all dependent. Now imagine in a single moment, every link in that global chain snaps. This is not the story of a temporary blackout. Not a cyber attack that engineers can undo. Not a glitch that resets overnight. This is the question. What if the internet vanished and never came back? To understand this world, we must define the scenario clearly. We are imagining a catastrophic failure so deep, so complete, that no one can rebuild the digital network. Not in a day, not in a year, not in a generation. Maybe it's a solar storm bigger than anything modern Earth has seen. A geomagnetic blast strong enough to melt global fiber networks and cripple satellites. Maybe it's a coordinated collapse of physical infrastructure. Undersea cables severed, data centers destroyed, satellites disabled beyond repair. Or perhaps, the failure is born from within. A global software corruption, propagating faster than any human can contain. No servers, no routers, no signal. No satellites, no internet. Ever again now. Let's step inside that reality. The internet is often imagined as a cloud. Something floating, weightless, invisible. But the truth is far more physical, far more fragile. The internet is an empire of wires. More than 550,000 miles of undersea fiber cables, millions of miles of terrestrial lines, hundreds of thousands of servers, tens of thousands of data centers, 5,000 satellites, billions of connected devices. Together, they form the largest machine humans have ever created. A machine that never sleeps. A machine that holds the collective memory, economy, and communication of an entire species. But it has one weakness. It only works if every part works. A single broken cable does nothing. 1,000 broken cables brings chaos, but a global collapse. That's the end of the digital age. And with it, the end of the world we know. This scenario is dramatic, but not impossible. History gives us clues. In 1859, a solar storm known as the Carrington event struck Earth. Telegraph lines burst into flames. Operators received electric shocks. The world's best communication system, simple wires, was crippled in minutes. In 1988, a worm called Maurice nearly shut down the early internet. It was tiny, primitive, and accidentally, it brought the global network to its knees. In 2008, a handful of severed cables in the Mediterranean slowed internet speeds across the Middle East, India, and Africa for days. Even today, cyber attacks knock out everything from hospitals to pipelines. The internet is powerful, but it is not invincible. And it has never been tested on the scale we are about to imagine. Now we move through the sequence. Step by step, hour by hour. As civilization enters the greatest technological collapse in human history, the moment the internet dies, the world shudders. Phones stop connecting, messaging apps freeze, streaming platforms vanish, navigation apps collapse, leaving drivers stranded. At first, people assume it's a temporary outage. Annoying, inconvenient, but familiar. Then, the blackout spreads, country after country, city after city, until the silence becomes impossible to ignore. Planes lose real-time communication. Stock markets halt instantly. Digital payment systems freeze, every card transaction denied. The world stands still. Governments attempt emergency broadcasts, but without digital networks, their reach is limited, fragmented, slow. Air traffic control reverts to radio only.
Thousands of flights are grounded.
Hundreds are diverted. Some are lost. Hospitals lose access to cloud-based records. Doctors scramble for paper backups that may not exist. Banks shut their doors. Not because they want to, But because without internet verification, they cannot legally move a single dollar, people search for information. But information has gone silent. The world knows something is wrong, but no one knows how wrong. Within 24 hours, the economic collapse begins. Global markets cannot operate without the internet. Trading stops. Currency exchange ceases. Companies cannot communicate, ship, or confirm orders. Factories slow. Stores run out of basic goods. ATMs become useless metal boxes. News spreads only through television and radio, a communication method that now feels ancient. Governments declare states of emergency. Military units deploy to maintain order. Day one is not about chaos. It's about uncertainty. And uncertainty is the seed of fear. By now, the world has changed forever. Food supply chains fracture, supermarkets empty, shipping companies cannot coordinate, farmers cannot access markets, gas stations run dry, digital pumps cannot function, modern transportation collapses, electric cars cannot charge, GPS navigation is gone, logistics networks freeze, phone networks degrade rapidly. They rely on internet backbone systems to route calls. As the backbone dies, communication evaporates, cities dim. Not because electricity has failed, but because everything that depends on digital control systems becomes unreliable. The modern world becomes a museum of dead machines. A month later, the world enters a slow-motion collapse. Civilization becomes local again. Communities depend on face-to-face communication. Paper, pens, radios, once obsolete, become essential tools. Knowledge stored online becomes unreachable. Billions of documents vanish from daily life. Scientific research halts. Universities fall silent. Economies shrink into pre-digital fragments. Defense systems struggle. Many rely on digital networks, satellites, encryption keys. In some regions, governments lose control, not through conflict but through silence. Humanity experiences a kind of technological amputation, and the wound does not heal. The survivors of the first year adapt. A new world emerges. A world without streaming, social media, GPS, online banking, or global communication. A world slower, more fragmented, more isolated, but not entirely broken. Local radio networks grow. Cities build analog communication systems. Merchants trade using physical currency again. Mechanical tools replace digital ones. Humanity returns to paper records, manual controls, and physical labor. A world that looks strangely familiar and deeply alien. Some nations adapt with discipline. Others collapse under pressure. Borders harden. Trade shrinks. Travel becomes rare. Humanity enters a post-internet age. Unexpected, unwanted, and irreversible. The internet is more than a tool. It's more than a convenience. More than a network of machines, just the nervous system of modern civilization. It's a living, breathing organism that connects minds, markets, and nations. If it disappeared forever, humanity would not die. But the world we know, the world built on speed, connection, and instant access, would vanish instantly. In its place, we would build something slower, more fragile. A civilization forced to rediscover old methods, because the digital world collapsed beneath its own weight. The true question is not whether the internet can fail. It can. History proves it. The real question is this: do we understand how much of our world depends on something we cannot see? And if the internet is the backbone of modern civilization, what happens when the backbone snaps? If this collapse feels unimaginable, then brace yourself, because in our next episode, we explore a scenario even more catastrophic. What if Earth stopped spinning for one single minute? Would humanity survive? Or would the planet itself tear apart? Join us. The next question is waiting.